Greetings, Eric Backer here, the naturopath from New Zealand. Thanks for coming back to my channel. I hope you've all been doing well. A lot of people have been asking me about undecylenic acid, the benefits of undecylenic acid, the usage, the dosage, and whether it can be useful for Candida or conditions like that. So this is a great opportunity now I've got with the internet to make a dedicated video about undecylenic acid. I'd highly suggest you stick around till the end because I'm going to answer a lot of inquiries related to undecenoic or otherwise aka undecylenic acid. Let's talk a bit about the history first. So this stuff's not new. The antifungal nature of undecenoic acid has been known for quite a long time. It was first discovered in 1877, and since the 1940s, I think it was the late 1940s or early 50s, different types of undecenoic acids, different salts and esters of these acids have been used by the food industry to inhibit yeasts and fungi. And by the medical industry, they've been used as well for antifungal drugs. In its present form, it's used in many over-the-counter topical antifungal medications. It's also used in personal care products. Interesting thing with castor bean oil plant, where this comes from, is it's used also to make nylon, would you believe it? A particular type of plastic with a trademark name. So it's quite an amazing substance. But let's look what undecenoic acid is first. So you're probably wondering what it is. So undecenoic acid is derived from castor bean oil. It's a tall plant, about 6 to 8 foot tall. I used to see them growing on the riverbanks when I lived in Australia. They like living in the tropics. They're tall plants that produce huge flowers and big leaves. The bees love this plant, and I think a lot of pollen. In fact, American beekeepers like it because also the plant provides a lot of pollen, obviously, which is good for the beekeeping industry. But how do they make castor bean oil, you're saying? Well, they crack these castor beans and under high pressure, a foul-smelling liquid's produced. But these seeds in their raw state are actually quite toxic. They contain a compound called ricinin, I believe it's called ricin or ricinin, and it can be quite poisonous, especially for children. But the oil is quite fine. And it's naturally present, in fact, a compound like this in the sweat of our body, would you believe it? So what are the uses of undecylenic acid? Well, it's used to help different types of fungal infections in and on the skin. It prevents fungal growth, basically. It can irritate the mucous membranes of some people if the acid's used quite strong, but it seems to be a good alternative to most pharmaceutical medications, in fact, that target fungus. So you'd be surprised to know that in World War II, undecenoic acid was used with foot infections. It's got up to 4 times more. The salts or the esters of undecenoic acid have up to 4 times higher fungal activity when we just compare it with plain undecenoic acid. So the zinc salt of undecylenic acid is widely used in these preparations, as free undecylenic acid can be quite irritating to the skin and mucous membranes. But undecenoic acid is made in different forms, of course, for the dietary supplement industry, but also for the cosmetic industry and the food industry and the pharmaceutical industry. It's made in many different ways. So if we look at the benefits of this undecenoic acid, let's talk about those. There are a plethora. There are so many benefits. So let's discuss some of these in more detail. So undecenoic acid, point number 1, stops the conversion of Candida to a more pathogenic form. It's used in denture linings to inhibit the growth of Candida. In a study conducted by McLean and colleagues, it was seen that undecenoic acid did not allow Candida to convert from the yeast to the pathogenic hyphal or the filamentous form when this was coated on denture linings. And a lot of people with dentures will tell you that it's not hard to get a problem in the mouth, the cheeks, and you can certainly get all types of infections in there, particularly fungal ones. So if we look at point 2, undecenoic acid affects the cell surface of Candida. So it completely disturbs the cell surface. A Chinese study led by a guy called Shi and colleagues even observed that small droplets of it are enough. So it's tiny amounts really affect the surface of yeast, and particularly how it reproduces and then morphs into a more complex, dangerous form. Now the third point, undecenoic acid inhibits enzymes involved in Candida pathogenesis. So in further studies, it was noted that the treatment of undecenoic acid decreased the enzymatic activity of Candida, particularly the cells that allow it to become pathogenic. So as you can see, it's quite a powerful compound. The fourth point is it also helps to stimulate healthy gut and vaginal flora. Undecenoic acid taken in moderation helps to build good gut and vaginal flora. This acid also helps in the absorption of healthy nutrients, building immunity and the elimination of many different types of toxic compounds from the body. Don't be alarmed by the word acid. After all, lemon juice is an acid, and vinegar is an acid, and we can consume those quite readily. I just know some people hear the word acid and they start thinking about, things dissolving, probably more from the horror movies. So let's look at some of the health issues actually solved by undecenoic acid. You must have formed the perception probably till now that undecenoic acid is a potent ingredient that controls antifungal activities, but let's talk about exactly how this component can help you now. It's good for skin issues. It's used to help skin infections like athlete's foot, or minor infections like diaper rash, jock itch, or pathogenic fungal infections that irritate the skin surface in particular. It's also, if we look at point 2, a good biofilm disruptor. Undecenoic acid is highly potent when it comes to disrupting the biofilms in your body. Various research studies have observed the shrinking of biofilms after their exposure to undecenoic acid. The third point is undecenoic acid combats aggressive forms of Candida and inhibits the growth when you take this in the right quantities. The fourth point, undecenoic acid helps women maintain healthy vaginal flora. Studies going back as far as the 30s have shown positive effects of undecenoic acid on Candida albicans and vaginal flora. Now, castor oil was widely extracted in America, I think right up until the 1940s. Hundreds of thousands of gallons of this stuff were extracted. It was used for all kinds of conditions. And now, of course, with chemicals and factories, we're making a lot less use of natural compounds. But as you can still see, they still have their place. What about the side effects of undecenoic acid? So we talked about the benefits. I'd also like to highlight some downsides of undecenoic acid. Many people have apprehensions when it comes to the actual oral consumption. As I mentioned, you talk about acids and they freak out. But the key thing here is taking it in the right proportions, taking the right amount, not too much. In the late 1940s, there's a guy called Henry Perlman, and he found that higher dosages of undecenoic acid, so if it's talking 6 to up to 15,000 milligrams per day, that's way more than you and I will ever take. And he found some side effects could occur, like nausea or vomiting, burning sensations in the stomach. So what Perlman suggested was to enteric coat it, put it in something that wouldn't make it react very powerfully with the mucous membranes. And on the other hand, in the 50s, if we look at the early 50s, a study was conducted by Hopkins and Murphy, presented their first record of the use of undecenoic acid to treat systemic fungal infections of the lungs. A patient was given 10,000 milligrams, I think it was about 10 or 11,000 milligrams every day for 4 months, which took care of this infection. Now that's a lot of undecenoic acid that you and I will probably never take, but it just shows you, what the body can absorb and utilize. So a well-balanced proportion of consumption can avoid side effects of undecenoic acid. Small amounts are not going to really affect you that much at all. Issues with undecenoic acid is that it's active only under certain acidic conditions. And this was shown in 1959 by a guy called Herbert Prince. So which means it's very active in the stomach, particularly if the conditions are acidic enough. And when it comes to the large intestine where it's more alkaline, it has a much harder time working. So now you can understand why I like people to have undecenoic acid with some type of a proportion of digestive enzyme in the actual tablet, and also why it's important to take it with meals, particularly when chewing food, which is going to elicit more enzymes in the body. So it's going to allow it to be more effective. So in proper dosages, taking crazy amounts that I have seen some people do, unfortunately, could cause some skin rashes or itching or swelling or even hives. So we're talking people taking 30, 40, up to 60 capsules of undecenoic a day long term, and that can make you feel quite sick. So look at the precautions. So before we go ahead with consuming undecenoic acid on a standalone basis particularly, there is something you should know about the precautions. So be careful with children with this product. You're best to work under the guidance of a healthcare professional who understands how to use undecenoic acid. Always wash your hands if you're using any topical ointments containing undecenoic acid. And keep it away from your eyes and from your mouth and nose and things like that. And if you're using ointments containing it, it might not work on areas, like the scalp or the nails, for example. Pregnant and breastfeeding females should always consult healthcare professionals before, consuming any supplement, really, and particularly things like undecenoic acid. Excessive dosages need to be avoided at all costs. So follow the instructions of the manufacturer. That way you're less likely to run into problems. And of course, keep it away from kids and pets and animals. Don't give it to your cat or dog. It's not a good idea. So potential interactions with undecenoic acid is a common question I often get asked. If it interacts with other oral medications or drugs or foods, well, from what I can gather, there are no severe interactions. But remember, the absence of evidence should not deter you from consulting a healthcare professional before using it, especially if you're concerned. It's always a good idea to be safe. So, having talked about many aspects of undecenoic acid, you're probably wondering how you can source it and what food items contain it, and what can you eat to get the benefits from undecenoic acid. Well, I don't really know any food sources of this acid. I do have other forms of fatty acids that are also antifungal. If we look at capric and caprylic acid from coconut, these are edible sources. But this is not something you're going to basically be eating like a food per se. It's more of a supplement. Although this fatty acid is produced from castor oil, you can't just simply get undecenoic acid by consuming castor oil, because you need a complex process at high pressure to extract the undecenoic acid from the castor oil. If you just take castor oil alone, it's going to be laxative, of course, and it will make, induce bowel motions. It cleans up the entire intestine. So it has quite a laxative effect, and we know that because castor oil has been used for a long time for that purpose. So, and because it passes through your body that quick, it's not really going to have much antifungal activity anyway, is it? So let's conclude on this little story on undecylenic acid, or undecenoic acid. By this time, we've covered many aspects of undecenoic acid. I started talking about the history, and then about the usage, and also about health benefits, and then further also spoke about some potential side effects and precautions that you should take when consuming it, and any potential interactions. Lastly, we got to know it cannot be derived readily from food sources, and it really needs to be obtained through a rigorous chemical extraction process, a safe process. So let's handle some FAQs now regarding undecenoic acid. I'm going to answer some of the most frequently asked questions related to undecenoic acid. So how many questions have we got here? I think we've got about 25 questions, so I'll just go through these and expand on them a bit. So can undecylenic acid help with nail fungus? No, not really, is my reply. I know some people who open oily capsules and apply that to nail, but I don't really find it anywhere as effective as tea tree oil, Australian tea tree oil. Can undecenoic help with cases of ringworm? Yeah, it can. It depends on the case, of course. And ringworm, of course, being a fungal condition, many people will notice certainly some improvements with ringworm. Is undecenoic good for Candida yeast infections? Yes, it's been proven to be good. Google will tell you so. You can find many studies, in fact, confirming what I'm telling you now. Number 4, can undecylenic acid cause any liver issues? So, only if you take it in absurd amounts. Ask the dosage from a healthcare professional if you're worried, but I've been working with undecylenic acid for a long time and I've never heard anybody get a liver issue from it. I've heard a lot more people get liver issues from paracetamol, however, but not from undecylenic acid. Question 5. Is undecylenic acid good for parasite cleansing? Not really. There are no studies to show any benefit against parasites. Question 6. Where can I purchase undecylenic acid? Well, my tableted formulation, CanXida Remove, contains undecylenic acid, high grade. It's a sustained release, time release formula that contains undecylenic acid along with several other compounds, all with anti-candida effects. So, as I mentioned before, when you start mixing undecylenic acid with a little bit of enzyme in there to break it down, like betaine, when you start marrying it up with other fatty acids that are complementary, you're going to get more an expanded effect, which we find with CanXida Remove. Is CanXida undecenoic the same as 10-undecenoic acid? It is. It's basically just a derivative of undecenoic acid. Number 8. Is undecenoic acid good for warts? Yes, it is. I've had some good feedback of people actually applying it to warts. Number 9. Is undecenoic cream a good solution for nail fungus or oral tablets? There's not much evidence that supports the use of undecenoic acid in treating nail fungus. Although it can be effective in fungal infections of the skin, it is not super effective in treating nail infections. That's because in nail infections, the fungus establishes itself within or under the nail, making it difficult for any kind of, especially topical medication, to get through the nail and kill the fungus. Is it good for jock itch? Yes. Many patients who've had jock itch have benefited quite a lot from the CanXida Remove product for that reason. Which form of undecenoic acid is best? The powder, the capsules, tablets, liquid or cream? It's best to have undecenoic acid, in my opinion, in a powder form mixed with caprylic acid and betaine HCl. So it's important to have these in a sustained release formulation for best activity and the least side effects. Question 12. How long does undecylenic acid take to work? It's a potent natural medicine. A sustained release dose form is useful in reducing gastrointestinal side effects, and you'll find it can take anywhere from a few hours up to a day or so to work, but it's slow in its action and it will build up over time, particularly if you keep dosing regularly. So question 13, what's the difference between undecylenic acid versus undecylenic acid? Well, basically they're all the same. They're given different names. There can be very slight variations in their chemical structure, but basically they're all the same thing. 14. Can undecylenic acid cause indigestion? If you're starting to take very high dosages of just undecylenic acid without any other compounds, it could. We're talking anywhere from 6,000 up to 15,000 milligrams per day. And you could get a bit of nausea. If you're taking way too much, you could get vomiting, burning sensations, but I've not experienced that with any of my patients because I've never allowed them to take, crazy amounts. Can it help with weight loss? It's question number 15. No, it can't. It's not really a weight loss kind of product. But if your gut becomes more regulated with a reduction in yeasts and your metabolism improves, it can help you lose weight in that regard. Can pregnant women or nursing women take undecylenic acid? There are no controlled studies on the effect of oral intake of undecylenic acid during pregnancy, so I think you should just avoid it during pregnancy and also during nursing. Can it be taken with tea tree oil? Yes, it can. Some people do take tea tree oil. Many people, though, find it quite damaging and disturbing and even toxic, but again, it all depends on the dose. What is the difference between undecenoic acid versus caprylic acid? Well, undecenoic acid is sourced from castor oil, and it's helped along in a factory under high pressure to create this product, whereas caprylic acid is sourced from coconut oil basically, and it occurs in a more natural form. Does the undecylenic acid expire, is question 19. Yes, it does, like anything else, but when put into a well-made product, you're going to get 2 or 3 years out of, before you get an expiry date. 20. Can you take undecenoic acid with probiotics? Absolutely. Undecenoic acid works well in low acidic pH, so probiotic can even help with that. Question 21. Can I dissolve undecenoic acid in juice and drink it? Probably the best way to take it is in a tablet form, like CanXida Remove, because you're not really going to experience a really horrible mouthfeel with it, because it can have a mouthfeel, especially if you take the capsules. But I think it's best taken in a sustained release formulation. That way you don't experience anything really in the mouth, and you won't experience many discomfort signs in the gut unless you're taking crazy amounts of the tablets. Is 10 undecenoic acid or undecylenic acid, is it good for SIFO, small intestinal fungal overgrowth? Yes, it is. What's the difference between castor oil and undecenoic acid? That's question 23. Well, undecenoic acid is a derivative of castor oil, as we mentioned. It's prepared by cracking castor oil beans under high pressure and extracting the oil, and then converting a component of that oil into the undecenoic acid. Question 24. Is it good for biofilm? Yes, it is. It's been proven to be good for biofilm. 25. Is it more effective at killing Candida than caprylic acid? Yes, it is, and studies have also shown this. 26. Undecenoic acid versus medium chain triglycerides. Both have their own properties, but it's been observed that the undecenoic acid is definitely more potent than the MCT oil. And that concludes my little presentation on undecenoic acid. And I would like to thank you all really for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. But before you go, don't forget to get my Candida Diet and Cleanse report, and that includes Starter's Guide, okay, the popular Ultimate Candida Diet shopping list, and the Candida Symptom Tracker. So if you go to yeastinfection.org/goodies, you can get those. So feel free to leave a comment, and either I'll get back to you or someone from my team will get back to you. So here's wrapping it up. Thanks for tuning in.